We're good. We're good to go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Want to welcome you to episode 13 of JagBlitz. I am one of the hosts of the show, the MC Wale. I've got Law Boyd over on the left side, and we have a special guest for you guys tonight. Jacksonville Jaguars beat writer for First Coast News here in Jacksonville, Mike K. He's also the co-host of the In the Pocket podcast as well. And you can follow him on Twitter at Mike_K, and you can follow his podcast at In the Pocket Pod. Mike, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, definitely. And Lawrence, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. We won.
Yeah, so let's just go ahead and jump right into it. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Buffalo Bills in London. The Jaguars find a way to win 34-31 after what was a recap of almost 2014, where the Jaguars jump up to an early lead and then you see almost an epic collapse. But this year it was a little different because they actually pulled out the win. Just your thoughts, Lawrence. Let's go ahead and get your basic thoughts on the game.
My thoughts are going to be, it very reminded me of the game that we played against the wonderful Philadelphia Eagles a couple years ago, last year specifically, where we went up big, defense came up really, really big, and then all of a sudden we decided to give the game away in the second half. TJ looked really good for probably the second time this season. Allen looked really good. Clutch catches, and then there was that one catch by Thomas over the middle, which was phenomenal.
The one that didn't count?
Yeah, the one that didn't count. Yeah, and then the end zone or goal line stand, which was a joke. And I still have the same concerns that I've had for the last 6 weeks about coaching and adjustments.
Okay, what about you, Mike K? What did you think of the game?
As an observer and not a fan who's not emotionally invested, I really kind of took this game as something that needs to be taken into context, right? So if you're looking at it with emotions aside, this is a game where you gave up 21 straight points on defense despite having four turnovers when you finally got turnovers. Then you had Blake kind of bookend a good first quarter and a really good final drive with a bunch of really poor throws and poor decisions. So I think, it showed the youth of the team. I think, you saw, but the progress you saw was in that final drive and the way the offense was able to respond. We've constantly talked about how are these guys going to respond when they face adversity. To throw a pick six the way that Blake did, which is kind of his soup du jour, as it were, every week. You can count on it just like, chicken tortilla soup at Chili's. It's going to happen. And to just see him respond, he was very proficient in that final drive. It's probably the most dominant drive I've seen them have since I've been on the beat. And I think a lot of guys were encouraged. That locker room was, when I was in there Tuesday, was very encouraged by them.
And that's good to hear. It's like, but also obviously we're coming from a fan perspective, so seeing the team just get off to that extremely fast start and leading 24-10 going into halftime, and then just 24-13, my apologies, and then obviously coming out in the second half and just continuing to play as flat as they have all year in the second half until it gets to crunch time, or you get down in the fourth quarter and then they start to make plays. It's a little disheartening, but it is good to see that the Jags were able to rebound and see Blake, after throwing a pick six, and which was an ugly interception, by the way, and just rebound and be able to drive the team down the field, even with the benefit of a pass interference call, and be able to score ultimately the game-winning touchdowns. It's encouraging. It's good to see it. I want to focus in on the defensive side of the ball real quick, though. Even though the defense gave up 24 points, there's some bright spots on that defense. Telvin Smith had a monster game, 9 tackles, a pick six, and just he was flying all over the field. A guy like Paul Posluszny, who I usually give a lot of crap to because he's the guy that just for some reason manages to make me look stupid. He gets an interception. Aaron Colvin coming in on that strip sack fumble early in the first quarter is starting to emerge and prove that he's going to be a playmaker. But even though you have still those bright spots, you're looking at a defense that is still just struggling to kind of figure out what they're doing and why they're out of position. And I don't know if that's something that Lawrence has picked up on, or Mike, if that's something that you can touch on.
Lawrence, you want to take this one, or you want me to grab it?
You can get it.
You know what? I think Sindaric Marks has helped a lot, and I know that's like a really easy narrative to play on, but I do think that he's kind of helped these guys line up. His leadership's tremendous. I spoke with Tyson Alualu in the locker room on Tuesday, and he was just saying just how much confidence he brings and how much preparation he puts into every week, and guys kind of just he leads by example. And I think that's really something that the team has kind of gravitated towards over the last 2 games. I think they've been a little bit more aggressive. They've been smarter with how they've handled blitzing. Oh, excuse me. And I think the coaching staff's been a little less cautious with how they, do stunts and how they're moving guys around. Like you'll see Clemens stunt maybe twice a game now, as opposed to never stunting. Andre Branch stunts 2 or 3 times a game. They feel comfortable because they know what they have in the rest of their line, and that they'll back them up. And I think there's a sense of confidence in the line now because of what Sindaric brings.
Okay, what about you, Lawrence? What are you thinking?
This was the first game, and you and I kind of joked about it beforehand, where we saw some actual blitzing on defense, and we were like, use the hashtag JagBlitz as kind of a thing for the show, whatever. And to me, I think a lot of it kind of stems from that our leading sack is Aaron Colvin. Yeah. And it's one of those things that he's our sack leader.
Bizarro Jags, my friend.
I mean, and that Clemens, other than that sack fumble recovery, and then you had Branch on that, roughing the passer, hitting the face of EJ and stuff like that, that for the most part, we're still not getting pressure out of our Leo from what I saw last week. I could be completely wrong, but that's kind of where I was at. I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, the pressure we're getting is when we're doing zone blitzing, whether it's from a corner, a linebacker, or something like that. It's not coming from our prime position, which is supposed to be Gus's forte. So that was kind of my concern. The defense definitely looked like they had elevated, but at the same time, it doesn't seem the mental fortitude is there to keep the lead and to not. I mean, Gratz got picked on the whole game from my experience because of accountability, which we'll kind of get into when we look at the
yeah, we'll talk about that.
And it was like, okay, so Gratz is getting picked on the whole game. Why is House not in the game? That kind of stuff. And I'm just a fan. I'm by no means a coaching staff or a beat writer or anything like that. But that's kind of where I saw the defense make improvements, specifically Colvin and then Telvin. But at the same time, I saw them make a lot of the same out of space, out of position, not making, if we're just running our base 4, not making the same pressures that we haven't been the past 6 weeks.
Okay, fair enough. So, anyways, with the win, Jags move on to 2-5 in with their overall record and head to the bye week. So, let's go ahead and discuss the Gus Gonometer real quick. All right, this is something that we started about 2 weeks ago. Just our general consensus and our feeling on how we feel about Coach Bradley, whether he should stay, whether he should go. Obviously, Shad Khan has already given his kind of vote of confidence in saying that he's the right guy for the job right now. We'll reevaluate things at the end of the season. So he's going to be here till the end of the year, regardless of what we think. But Lawrence, what do you think? What level is your Gus Gonometer at right now?
So last week mine was about an 8, 9, I think is what I said.
You said 10 last week, my friend. Hold on. Well, I guess time heals all wounds, maybe?
Yeah, so I'll roll it back a little bit just because the players do believe in him, and they do believe in the process. And Khan, as we'll say, good owner, is not going to throw a head coach or a GM under the bus in the middle of the season. I don't think that's part of his genetic makeup is to do that. He's not a Jerry Jones guy. He's not going to sit there and speak out the side of his mouth. So that's not surprising for him to say, hey, I support Gus, whereas behind closed doors may be different. After this win, I'm not going to say that the concerns are not there. Halftime, we still didn't seem to make any adjustments, so it's probably still a 6 or 7. It's not as high as a 9-10, as you so wonderfully pointed out to me last week.
Hey, I'm going to call you on it, man. Just saying.
It's definitely still there. I'm not 100% convinced that Gus is the guy. I love Gus to death. I think he's a wonderful person, a wonderful personality. I'm just not seeing, and specifically even in the press conference afterwards, I'm not seeing the answers for when people ask him like, hey, why'd you run, good old Toby 4 times in the end zone, in the red zone rather. And he's like, we just did what we were supposed to. We thought we could get it there. And I know that's kind of a coach speak there, but it just doesn't seem like those adjustments are continuing to be made. So that's just me.
Fair enough. I would say mine's at like a 4 because obviously with Shad saying that, hey, he's going to be here to the end of the year, there's no reason to freak out or get upset or do anything at this point. Now it's all on Gus. He's got to perform and he's got to do some things to obviously try and turn this, not only the season around, but kind of change the public perception of him. I know that it's still kind of split here in Jacksonville 50-50. Some people are really adamant that he's the right guy for the job. Some are like, hey, we've tried. It's 3 years, and it's the early rough start that we got kind of shows that, hey, maybe this might not be the right guy for the job. But I'm not going to freak out. He's got obviously he has the bye week, and then obviously he has the rest of the season to play it out. So let's focus in on the bye week. Imagine you're Gus Bradley, you're Dave Caldwell, all combined. What changes would you want to see? Maybe 2 or 3 changes you would want to see going into the second half of the season. Mike, I'm going to toss this to you.
Changes that I'd like to see. Well, obviously, I'd like to see. If you read me, you know that I'm a fan of Ryan Davis. I think you need to get him a little bit more involved, whether it's as an interior pass rusher or if you're just putting him out at Leo. I know he knows. I know he believes that he can play Leo full time. At this point in the season, they need something. You've got a 33, 34-year-old guy playing Leo, and he's getting snaps taken away by a guy who has never been a proficient pass rusher, who struggles quite a bit, making mental mistakes. That said, the two of them have been very, very good against the run. If you watch the tape, they've been able to stop the run at a very good pace. They're holding teams to 3.5 yards a carry with them at Leo, which says something. I mean, That said, Ryan Davis has a bigger body than both of them. So I don't think that that's necessarily an issue. I'd like to see Telvin freed up a little bit more. What I mean by that is, we talk about the zone blitz. Pro tip, if you zone blitz with Aaron Colvin, you're going to win. But that said, I'd like to see Telvin get to the quarterback a little bit more. I think he is the most proficient playmaker. Not that that's saying much on the Jaguars roster. You have to get him in space. You have to use his athleticism and his range to your advantage. I'd also like to see some corners figure out a way to catch the ball. I've never seen a team that's being led in interceptions by a middle linebacker who, to be frankly honest with you, is not good in coverage whatsoever. So for him to have 2 interceptions and your entire DB group have 0, it's alarming to me. On offense, I really wouldn't change all that much, except for maybe bench Beatles for Shatley, but that's pretty much it.
Fair enough. All right. I'm kind of with you on that, especially with the Ryan Davis thing. I think Ryan Davis is I don't know if he's necessarily a special player, but over the past 2 years, I've seen the guy produce at the edge when nobody else really has. So I think it's one of those times where I think on third down or passing on rushing down, pass rushing downs, they need to give him the ability to get snaps. I mean, I don't know how many snaps he had, but I remember the last 2 weeks he had 14 and 13 respectively, which is awful for a team that's really that even though is somehow in the top 12 in sacks overall, hasn't really generated fantastic
really?
pass
Are they
rush.
the top 12?
They are.
Yes.
They are, which is incredible.
That is insane.
Yeah, so I kind of want to see Ryan Davis get a little bit more play. I want to see those corners play better. I don't know how you go about it, whether you kind of put them in more press situations or if you just say, hey, maybe we play a little bit more man than we do zone blitzing or anything like that. And then offensively, I need to know what's going on with Marquise Lee because I know that Gus came out today and said, we're not quite sure what's going on. We're going to assess and reevaluate. Look, he's been off the field for almost 4 weeks now, with a hamstring or soft tissue injury. We got to know if he's going to be able to play or not. If he's not going to be able to play, let's go ahead and stash him on IR. We know that Rashad Green is going to be coming back in like the next week or two. So at least you have that. And plus, you'll free up a roster spot to maybe bring somebody up from the practice squad, kind of elevate that. And last but not least, I want to see Denard Robinson get a little bit more love. I understand that, he didn't. I don't believe I saw him outside of special teams. I didn't see him on the field at all on the offense, and it's disappointing because you look at you've got a special running back in T.J. Yeldon, who I think is starting to kind of figure it out and kind of find his way in the NFL, and then you have a guy who in Denard Robinson who he's entering his third year.
Third year.
So he's in his third year, has kind of figured out how to be a running back at this next level, and he has that dynamic playmaking ability to get you some additional yardage that maybe Toby Gerhart can't. So they gotta try and rotate him in a little bit more. But I think Greg Olsen has done a pretty good job calling the offensive plays. So at this point, it's just having those guys continue to improve on what they've done so far this year. Lawrence, what about you?
Not to be completely agreeable with the whole Ryan Davis, but I definitely agree we need to see some more Ryan Davis. Our top 4 sack leaders are Aaron Colvin with 3 sacks, Ryan Davis with 2.5 sacks, Roy Miller with 2 sacks, and then Scuda with 1.5 sacks. So please give me more Ryan Davis, because your boys, Branch and Clemens have 1 sack between the two of them.
Don't say my boys. I'm not a big fan of either of those guys.
So I'm just sitting there looking. I'm like, okay, more snaps is beyond me versus 2 players who have experience and have had more time and are getting snaps. I don't understand. I'd like to see kind of what Mike K said, some more freedom for Telvin. He's obviously our best playmaker per se on defense. And he is just so fast. And please give me more players with chip on their shoulders. By all means, make it happen, because he is playing like a man that has something to prove on the field, unlike most of the other players on defense. On the offensive side of the ball, I don't want to see Toby anymore.
Really?
I'm sick of seeing Toby come in short yardage situations. Put Toby at fullback. Put Toby as a blocker. Put Toby in to clear the way for TJ and Denard, please. TJ made a lot out of nothing this past week, and it was an amazement to me. And I'm not going to throw my wife on the bus. I love her. But she was watching the game with me, and she's watching TJ. She's a very casual fan. She's looking. She's like, oh, okay, here we go. And so I'm like, okay. And then she's like, why aren't they giving it to him along with the announcers? Who are saying, why aren't you giving TJ Yeldon the ball at the goal line? Please take Alualu out of fullback, put Gerhart in there, and let's just see some more TJ and some good old Denard. And then I would like to see the receiving core stop dropping the ball. I mean, we have 5 drops last week, if not more. I don't know what it is. They talk about the gloves with Odell Beckham Jr., how they're talking about changing them because of that one-handed catch he had. So why are receivers still catching pretty much basic catches versus, Allen Hurns going out and making a phenomenal catch in the end zone, but it seems to be that simple routes that hit him in the chest, he drops. Same with Allen Robinson, same with good old Thomas. That's where I want to see. The play calling on offense seems to be very, very good, and I'm pretty okay with Ollie per se as to how the offense is being called, but the defense has got to be able to see some more mental fortitude. I don't know what it is. If it's coaching, is it just veteran leadership? Is it just experience? But something has got to be there to where, like, okay, we're winning, pedal to the metal, just kind of like we saw the Dolphins just destroy the Houston Texans. I need to see that from us. Like, they got up ahead early. We should be doing the same thing when we're ahead by 20-plus points rather than sitting there rolling it back and then all of a sudden, they're back in the game and we need Blake to make a winning game touchdown at the end of the game after a pick 6. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I'm with you. I listen. I don't hate the Alo at fullback thing. I actually kind of like it because when he gets the opportunities, he actually does some pretty good job blocking. To be honest with you, but that's a conversation for another day, maybe for the offseason or something like that as they finish out the year. So let's look ahead to the last 9 games of the season. How do you think this Jags team is going to finish it off? They're 2-5 right now. The benchmark that I set for this team earlier in the year and during the offseason was 6 wins. Can they get to 6-10? And I mean, it looks bleak, but it's possible that they can do it. Let's start with the Jets game that they'll have going first weekend in November. The Jets are a good team, but I don't know if they have. It really comes down to the quarterback play for the Jets, to be honest with you. I know that their defense plays very well, but I mean, you're looking at Ryan Fitzpatrick, really. He's played well, but I don't think he's the guy that can really like lead your team to victory. So, I'm not predicting a win, but that could be a game that the Jags could steal right there. What do you guys think?
No, I think we lose.
Yeah, I think that's a hard loss. I would say that's a loss.
Okay, all right. Well,
that said, though, those next 4,
it's possible. Then you have the Ravens away as well. Baltimore is struggling right now, and they're a team that I think could get got because they're in trouble. They've got problems all up and down that roster, and they're very injury like deficient right now. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, give me a win.
Yep.
Okay. Win. Then when they come back to the Titans at home on Thursday night, I'm calling that a win just because A, it's a Thursday night game, so everybody's going to be lit already. But B, it's the Titans. They don't look as good as they did week 1.
Is there a team more irrelevant than the Tennessee Titans? Like, seriously, I sit there and think about I just name 5 players on their offense. Go ahead.
I can't. They've been replaced.
Let's see. You got Kendall Wright. You have Bishop. You've got.
No, he's not. Bishop's not a starter anymore.
No, he's not a starter.
Adams is.
Good point.
Their tight end, who I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Delaney Walker.
Yeah, Delaney Walker and Kendall Wright. That's 4.
That's 4. I think of somebody on the defense. Like
wait. Who? How was that? How do we get to 4?
Dorius Green Beckham. That's 5. So Dorius Green Beckham, Kendall Wright, Delaney Walker, Mariota, and then Andrew Adams. That's 5. But that's because I play fantasy. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, fair enough. Wow, you've got fantasy players on the Titans. Jeez.
The depth is deep in that league. I'm assuming.
Yes, I have Kendall Wright. Sue me, okay?
Yeah, no, Kendall Wright. Kendall Wright a couple of years ago had like the most one of the top 5 catches, all like total catches in the league. So I mean, he's like under the radar type of guy. But yeah, give me a win there.
Okay, all right. Chargers at home.
Ooh.
That one's tough because the Chargers have had a rough go of things, but I can't not count on Phillip Rivers to lead that team and come back and win a game.
Leave it to the Chargers when they're like the most appealing team on the schedule. On one of the worst home schedules in NFL history, by the way. I feel for Jaguars fans, to be bad now. You know what I mean? Like leave it to them to be just like, yeah, we're gonna be 2-5 entering. I'll take the Chargers in that one.
Okay, I too take the Chargers in that. What about you?
Phillip Rivers lights us up every time.
All right, so
I'm taking the Chargers there.
Then the Jags turn around and head to the Titans, head up to Nashville. I think that's another win.
Me too.
Yep.
All right, the big game, Colts at home.
Are we getting Andrew Luck?
I'm gonna go Colts.
If it's a push, I'm going Colts just because they'll have semi-healthy Andrew Luck at that point in time. It also depends on if Chuck Pagano's there by that time or not.
Chuck Pagano's finishing the season out, but I think that's a Jags win, to be honest with you guys, because just the way that they played the Colts the first time, that's with a Hasselbeck who's playing much better than Andrew Luck. Now, I'm assuming Andrew Luck turns around and starts to play better, but if he doesn't, I mean, that is a potential winnable game for them. Obviously, playing the Falcons at home, that's an L.
No, Devontae Freeman will run all over us.
Well, in fairness, if you have them beating the Colts by our thing, they've reached 6.
Yeah, That's true, but against what you guys have picked, they're still at 5. So
Right.
So then with the last 2 games, the Saints being away, I think the Saints are. I think that's a game you could possibly win. I would say, yeah, give the Saints a win.
Yeah.
Not the Saints, give the Jags a win on that.
Okay, I'll take the Saints.
Okay,
they have Drew Brees, so I won't bet against
and
Drew Brees
nothing else
in the dome.
Now, here's the thing, though. You move on to that last game.
Yes, that's the game I'm considering that we may win.
Yeah,
Texans last game, final game of the year. The Texans at Houston.
I'll take the Jaguars -6 even.
Wow. Okay.
Shoot.
Yeah.
6. -6. So you think we're gonna win by a touchdown?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, they just cut their backup quarterback.
End it, baby. It's just gonna be done. I gotta tell you guys, just getting to know Alan Hearns, that's the type of dude you root for, not just like as a player, but as a person. That kid, I'm telling you, when he scored that touchdown in London, a little bit of me, I'll be a little unprofessional. I'll tell you, I was super stoked for him. That's a really cool cat right there, and he's gonna reach 1,000 yards this year. Watch.
Awesome.
Really?
He's a good guy to root for. I'm excited for that though.
His mom's cool too.
That's what I've heard. I've heard nothing but good things about his mom, and she's very low key and humble too, which is also cool to see. So, I mean, I see 6-10 if they're able to turn it around, and obviously, I think you guys kind of agree that there might be 4 or 5 more wins left for this team, but that's all stuff that'll have to be played out through the rest of the season. Mike, I just want to say thank you for joining us tonight. Definitely, if you're watching this show, make sure you follow Mike on Twitter at Mike_E_K. Jaguars beat writer here in Jacksonville for the First Coast News and the co-host of In the Pocket podcast. Make sure you follow that show at In the Pocket Pod. Just want to say thank you to everybody watching our live stream. We'll put it up on you. We'll put the recast on YouTube after the show ends. You guys have any last words? Anything you guys want to say?
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Having me
We
on.
should have a cue there. We should have a cue.
Yeah. Whoops. Sorry.
It's all good, but just want to thank everybody for watching, and tune in next week. It'll be 8 o'clock here at twitch.tv/JagBlitz. Tell your friends, like our page, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.